I am a representative of the College of Education here at Michigan State University, and I'm also the founder and co-director of Cali, Capital Area Latina Youth. I just want to... All right, and I want to thank everyone who's watching via live stream, especially we want to say a special hello to Ignacio Andrade, who's watching from California. I hope we do you proud, hermano. We would first like to thank all of our generous sponsors. Without them, this event would not be possible. And a special thank you to Sister Circle. And we are so lucky to be graced today with the presence of Dolores Huerta. It's such an honor. We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for the sakes of our own. Those are the special words of Dolores Huerta, or César Chávez, sorry. Now I would like to bring your attention to the screens on both sides of me. We have a special video of Dolores Huerta.
Dolores is an icon.
She's a civil rights hero.
She's the first general that I followed into war.
She's not afraid to speak truth to power.
Dolores Huerta, who is an old friend of mine.
The FBI knew how dangerous Dolores was. Dolores came up with the slogan, Si se puede.
Yes, we can.
You were a young girl growing up in America in the 40s. You must have had a dream.
After I had seen the miserable conditions of farm workers, César Chávez said, we have to organize a union. So you had this ambience all around you that you could really change the world.
It was beyond question the largest gathering on behalf of farm workers in California history.
I wish they'd all go back to where they came from. We have no labor troubles.
She wasn't asking for permission. She just did what needed to be done.
She has such a firm belief in what she's doing.
We've never given up.
That she infects you with it.
Dolores Huerta.
90,000 people were poisoned in the fields of the United States of America.
The farm workers founded the whole idea of environmental justice.
Men were threatened by her power.
She's a very volatile individual.
She's an insult.
People wanted to see her in a more traditional role.
I left a couple of my children behind.
That's part of the sacrifice that we made and that we had to make.
And it still pains me when I think about it.
People in power have no idea of the true heroes of this country.
I would not have been able to see what's hidden in the fields of our country without Dolores.
We're knee-deep in sexism when it comes to why she isn't studied and why people don't know her.
Latina girls need to see statues of you. We really got to set the record straight. I mean, women cannot be written out of history.
Down with violence! Abajo! Down with racism! Abajo! Down with sexism! Abajo!
That was an amazing video. I hope anyone that was able to sign up later on to be able to see the screening, it's going to be a special time. If not, I believe it's going to be coming on PBS like the end of March, so make sure you take some time to see the movie. At this time, I think we're going to go ahead and get started with our awards to honor the community leadership. So please welcome to the stage MSU Latino Alumni Association Representative Lupe Dominguez.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the committee, I thank you for being here. And we also wanted to thank everybody who submitted nominations. There were quite a lot for us to choose from. There was a lot of very fantastic work being done in the community, on campus, and things of that nature. So the committee had a really hard time choosing winners. Okay. And if you would just line up right in front of the podium here, and we'll go from there. So the first one is actually an organization. We did have a couple of nominations for those. So we have the Lansing for César y Chávez organization. So if the representative could come up and accept the award on their behalf. The next award is also an organization. It's going to be Voces de la Comunidad. So if the representative could please come forward. The next award is for Elena Herrera. The next award is for Pastor Victor Trevino, Sr. The next one is actually for Maria Serrato. The next one is for Joyce Zoe Farley. We have one here for Miss Ellie Raceman, who may or may not have joined us today. We have one for Analicia Montaner. We have one for Alondra Alviso. We have one for Zainab Mazloum. We have Ashley Reed. We have Anissa Cantu. Antonio Lopez Solis. And our final one for Leticia Valdespino.
On behalf of the Planning Committee, I'd like to thank all of you for an outstanding work that you do in our community. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Yosani and I'm a student from Lansing School District. Ms. Dolores, we honor your work and thank you for teaching our future leaders. Please accept this token for our appreciation for all of your wonderful work. Buenos días a todos, mi nombre es Yosani Loza y soy estudiante de Everett High School. Señora Dolores, le damos las gracias por tomarse su tiempo hoy en este día para estar aquí con todos nosotros. Por favor, acepte este agradecimiento de gratitud por su maravilloso trabajo.
Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. One more time, good afternoon. Great to see all these smiling faces. Did you guys realize that we are at, and I mean at, capacity? Give yourselves a hand. This is a tribute to Dolores Huerta's history and all the great things that she's done. We want to honor her. We also want to make mention that so many people came out to see her today. Give yourselves a hand. There's a lot of folks in the room, and what we wanted to do just quickly is I wanted to bring up Mayor Andy Shore from the city of Lansing to say a few welcoming words for everybody here. Please give him a hand.
Tight podium is tight. I'm so sorry. I'll move it a little bit. You're good. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am losing my voice a bit, so I'm going to be brief. But thank you for having me here today. This is exciting. I know the mic was a little low, but I heard that Everett High School is in the house. Did I hear that? Yeah! I am Sexton. I hear Sexton's here. Wonderful. I am the proud parent of a Viking, so thank you for both Sexton and Everett for being here. Is Eastern here too? Hello. Honestly, it's awesome to see the Lansing schools so involved with this event. I am so proud. Again, I'm a proud parent of 2 Lansing schools' children, so thank you all for being here. It's going to be a great day. I'm proud to be here today. I started my administration on day 2, standing up on a ladder, putting César Chávez signs up in Old Town. And it was a great way to start my administration, my 4 years. This program talks about building inclusive communities, and that is Lansing. We've been building an inclusive community. We will continue to build an inclusive community. I've got here with me today 2 of my cabinet members. I've got Joan Jackson Johnson and Linda Sanchez Gazella. Stand up. Stand up. Oh, sorry, we have Randy here too. Chief Talavero, please stand up. I'm sorry, they didn't tell me you were coming. But we believe in inclusion. We believe in diversity in Lansing. These 3 fine people you see here, they're not just in my cabinet because of diversity. They're in my cabinet because they're the best choices for the job. We have Latino, we have African American, we have Caucasian. We have diversity in Lansing. We're going to be creating a diversity commission, and I am proud of that. So I'm excited to be here today to honor César Chávez. I'm proud to be and excited to hear from Ms. Huerta and everything that she has gone through, the tremendous amount of stories that she can provide, all of the things that she has gone through in her time. It is so important to be here today to hear these stories so we can know what other people have lived and we can repeat those stories, we can talk about it. So I'm losing my voice, I went off script, but it's an honor to be here today. I hope everybody here learns and repeats and shares the stories that they hear today. Thank you all for being here. Oh, you know what? I do have one more thing I forgot. We actually have a proclamation from the city of Lansing today that I will give to you, talking about the bill. I'm not going to read this, but I'll read the end. It says, "Now, therefore, I, Andy Shore, Mayor of the City of Lansing, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim February 27, 2018, César Chávez and Dolores Huerta Commemorative Celebration Day."
Is everybody having a good time? Let's clap your hands if you're having a good time. Now, in the United Farm Workers movement, which has not died, has never died, it continues to this very day, there was and there continues to be a clap, a way of getting everybody in sync, on the same page, and making sure that everybody is listening. So I want you to do that clap with me. Are you ready? If you don't know the clap, watch your neighbor. Know your neighbor knows it. Ready? Good job, everybody. All right, now, si se puede.
Okay. Dolores Huerta is an American icon and a civil rights hero known around the world. Huerta is also the mastermind behind the phrase that we just shouted, and I think we should shout it one more time before she comes up here. Si se puede! Si se puede! Good. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dolores Huerta.
Thank you. Can you all see me? Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for having me. I always love to come to Lansing, Michigan. It's been a while since I've been here. And this place is such a very special place. In the history of the farm worker movement, Lansing, Michigan, this university here, you all really made a big old mark for justice for the farm workers, and not only for César and myself and many of our other speakers who came here, Richard Chávez, my husband, who was in charge of this whole area for the boycott. But just let me thank you one more time, and please give yourselves a big applause for all of your great support that you've given to farm workers. I know many people, young people especially, when they read about what happened in the 60s with Dr. Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, all of the movements that were going on there that really changed the United States of America. And I'm sure that many of you often thought, gosh, I wish I would have been there in the 1960s. Well, guess what? We're back. So if you didn't make it in the 60s, you now have a great opportunity to make great changes in the United States of America now that we're living here in this year of the 2018. And I wanted to talk about, there's a word that we often don't use in our vocabularies, but we know we talk about racism a lot, we talk about sexism, misogyny, homophobia. But there's one word that we don't use that often, and the word is bigotry. And probably some of you think, well, what the heck is that word bigotry? Well, bigotry is when you look down on people. You look down on people that are poor. You look down on working people. You look down on people that work with their hands, like farm workers, right? Who we know, and I know we have some children here, students here whose parents were or are farm workers. And I just want to remind everybody that farm workers do the most sacred work of all because they put the food on our table, right? And remember that. And the people that work with their hands, the people who built our chairs and our tables and built this building, the carpenters, the laborers, the auto workers, the people that build our cars, these are kind of the most, again, precious people in our society because without them, including the people who clean our buildings, and by the way, let's give a hand to all of our waiters here, right? All of the people that are serving us right now. So, these are the folks that make our country, make the wheels go around our country, keep our economy going. And yet often we see in our society that they are the least respected. And we see that happening right now with what's going on. This week, the Supreme Court of the United States is going to make a very big decision. And it's going to affect many of our public service workers in our labor unions. And what they're going to decide is whether labor unions which, by the way, when we say what is a labor union, teachers, please tell the students this. A labor union is an organization of workers, right? And this is the only organization that working people have. And what the Supreme Court is going to decide is whether the public service unions can take dues, take the fees for their unions out of a worker's paycheck, okay? It's like a deduction, like Social Security. And why is this important? Because you know what? If labor unions, if the people that work for labor unions, the organizers, if they don't have money if they cannot have money to earn money while they're organizing workers, or while they're representing workers on the job, then they really can't do their job, right? And so what they're trying to do then, by right now, unions, like the farm workers union, all of the farm workers that work under our union, they had their dues deducted, the money that they paid to belong to the union. And it comes right out of their paycheck. And that's really cool, right? Because they can send that money directly to the union. And so, because otherwise you would have to go to every single worker and say, can you pay your dues to the union? And of course, if you have to do that, then the boss, he knows who supports the union and who doesn't. And then they can get rid of the pro-union workers. So by taking away that right of unions, it's going to really make it hard for the workers to be able to continue to do their work. Because they not only have to represent the worker, like if the worker is fired unjustly, then they can go and represent that worker. They can go to a court and say this worker was fired unjustly, you need to give them back their job. And then you have to pay them their lost wages. But if they don't have the money to do that, then they really can't function. And then when you go up to the state capitol or you go to the Congress and they are passing these anti-union laws, you've got to have a union representative there to fight for those workers. And not just the union workers, because labor representatives, when they pass these laws, they affect all workers. And we have to remember, how did we get the weekends? How did we get the 8-hour day? How did we get Social Security? How did we get unemployment insurance? How did we get safety standards? How did we get public education? Thank you. Unions, right? And workers fought and died. Workers were killed to get these rights. Like in the farm workers union, we had 5 people that were killed just to get the right to organize into a union. Just to get the right to organize into a union. So you can see how important labor unions are. And we don't know what's going to happen in the Supreme Court, but I can just tell you right now, like in Wisconsin, when they passed a law like that, and Texas, they have these right-to-work laws, right? And many other states, I think like 40 states, have right-to-work. The workers could not join a union. You know, make it very, very difficult for workers to join the union. So this is what's happening. And you know, when we talk about César and what a great leader he was, and you know, when people like the farm workers, like César's family, they were looked down because they were farm workers. That's bigotry. That's what I was talking about, looking down. And we always have to remember that the working people and unions, you know what? They say that labor unions are special interest groups. How can you be a special interest group when workers are the majority of the people in the United States of America, right? You know, César, whose family were farm workers, actually César's family had a farm in Yuma, Arizona, and they got farmed that land. They were lettuce farmers. But what happened in Yuma during the Depression, they lost their farm because they happened to be Mexicans. And when they went to the bank to get a loan, like their neighbors who were not Mexicans, who were Anglos, they got a loan from the bank to be able to pay their taxes and their property taxes on the land, but they wouldn't lend that to Mexicans. They wouldn't lend it to colored people, to African Americans either. So they lost their farm. And that's how César and his family became migrant farm workers, because they lost the lettuce farm that they had. By the way, that lettuce farm is still there, but it's owned by a big lettuce company called Bruce Church. But, you know, and so César never had a chance to go to high school. César only went to the 8th grade. But as we all know, Cesar was a genius. And I just want to talk about a little bit about that. Because for those of you that don't know Spanish, in Spanish, when you say a person is educado, that means a person, you say educated in Spanish, that means that they're civil, that they have manners, that they're compassionate, that they care about their neighbor or the other person, right? It has nothing to do with what you call a formal education. In Spanish, when someone goes to high school or to college, they say, están preparados. They are prepared. In fact, in Mexico, they call the high schools preparatorias, places where you get prepared to go on to higher education, right? For higher formal education. So the reason I say that is because we should never think that a farm worker, like César Chávez, right? Or a construction worker, or a hotel worker here, because they never went to high school, that we should never think that they are not educated, okay? Never think that they are not educated. Because César, in spite of the fact that he never had a formal education, he always had a book under his arm. He was always reading, constantly preparing himself for all of the great things that lay ahead of him that he had to do. And so I want to tell a story about César, but then I want to tell you a story about another person like César Chávez. And this is a person with my organization is the Dolores Huerta Foundation. I left the United Farm Workers about 15 years ago. And we started going back to grassroots community organizing. And we go into communities and we teach people how to come together, how they have the power to take on the issues in their community, and how they can solve the issues. And we're doing really great work. Some of our communities now, they didn't have street lights, they didn't have sidewalks, gutters, swimming pools, neighborhood parks. And this lady here, who also never went to high school, speaks very broken English, and I want to talk about her. And we organize her in a house meeting, because that's the way that we organize. If I say the word Tupperware, that's right. Strike a bell with anybody? That's the way that we organize. Well, her name is Leticia Prado. And Leticia and her husband, they wanted to do something about their middle school. They wanted to put a fence around the middle school because the child had wandered away, and this middle school's right next to a big field. And they didn't have a gymnasium at their middle school. Well, you know what they did? They went out there, they got signatures, they got a petition, they passed a bond issue, they registered the voters, and when the vote came, they passed their bond issue with over 70% of the vote. And now they have a brand new gymnasium with a fence at the middle school. So, but Leticia, she wasn't satisfied with that. She got herself elected to the school board. Then the the superintendent of her school board, of her school district, he wanted to get rid of the breakfast program for the farm worker kids. Can you imagine? He said it was too much paperwork. Well, Leticia, being on the school board, she got rid of him. And she kept she kept the breakfast program. And then she got herself elected to another district of the water board. Found out that the guy that they had just hired had been fired from another district for embezzlement. And so she got rid of him also, okay? But the thing is, if you met Leticia Prado, you know, as I said, she never went to high school, speaks very broken English. She insists that all of the meetings be translated into Spanish, right? But the thing is that, you know, she knew that she had to take that power to make the decisions. And I like to tell that story about Leticia because this is where we're at right now, in 2018. In 2018, we see that we have all of these challenges where they're trying to get rid of labor unions, you know, when they're rolling back a lot of issues on the environment. One of the pesticides, and I'm going to call it number 45, I think you all know what I'm talking about. Anybody not know? Okay, it's on poodle. Okay. One of the pesticides that they got rid of just recently after number 45 was elected, guess what? There was a big poisoning right there near Bakersfield, California, where I live, and a bunch of farm workers got poisoned. Over 100 farm workers got poisoned. And it was the pesticide that had been banned, that President Obama had banned, but they took it off of the list. And right away, farm workers were placed with that place. So we have all of these challenges that we have in front of us right now, but I think that we need to know that 2018, that this is the year that we can really fight back. This is the year that we can say we need some of these protections back, some of the things that are being taken away from us, because we can build our own wall. They keep talking about the wall. Hey, we got a wall too, okay? We're going to build a wall in the U.S. Congress of progressive Congress people that can protect us from anything that comes out of the White House, all right? We can do it. But it's going to take a lot of work for us to do this. It means that we're going to have to really get out there. We're going to have to really hustle. We're going to have to go make phone calls. We're going to have to knock on doors to make sure that people get elected that are really going to be able to protect us. Because we are in a situation right now in our country where we have 1%, pick up on this, 1% of the wealthiest families in the United States of America own 50% of the wealth. 50% of all of the wealth, 1%. 10% of the corporations and families own 90% of the wealth. 90% of the wealth. That is so wrong. This is so wrong. When I was speaking to the students earlier today, we were talking about this, and you know, there is no reason why we, the richest country in the world, the United States of America, there is no reason why we should not have free tuition for free college tuition for every single student in our country. And when we say, well, why can't we do that? When we look at Europe, and we look at Scandinavia, we look at the European nations, hey, they can have free tuition for all of the citizens in their country, right? You know, and when we look at Latin America, we look at little teeny Cuba. Cuba, which has an economic boycott by the United States, they have free tuition for every single person in Cuba, and free medical care, free health care for every single person. How can they do that when they are such a poor country? Okay, well, we've got to figure it out, right? And we know that one of the reasons that we don't have that is because, again, if all of the money is on the top, if these 10% of the corporations and families have all of the wealth, then well, how did they get all that money? Well, guess what? They get it from us, right? From our purchases, from our taxes, etc. And we know that they passed that tax reform bill, which is, again, going to give all of the money to the super billionaires. It is wrong when you have a chief executive officer of a corporation that can make up to $30 million as their salaries. I mean, this is obscene. Why the chief executive officers of these Fortune 500 companies can make that much money. When we have teachers in our society that are barely making it, that have to take money out of their pockets to be able to get the kind of supplies that they need for their students, right? And we have students that cannot afford to go to college. So when I was talking about the 60s being back, this is what I'm talking about. That we've got to change this. We had back in the 60s, we had a big, what they call the Cultural Revolution. But you know what? We've got to have an economic revolution in the United States of America. And when I say revolution, I'm not talking about violence, okay? We know that César Chávez was committed to nonviolence, even when they killed our people, just because they were trying to get the right to organize. You have the right to have a bathroom in the field, and cold drinking water, and respirators, you know, the right to organize. We didn't respond with violence, you know? We didn't respond with violence. You know, in fact, anytime they killed one of our people, we went on a fast. Everybody did a 3-day fast, just to make sure that people would not turn to violence. And so the way that our reaction to this and the way that we fight back, we have a very powerful weapon in the United States. A very powerful, non-violent weapon. And you know what that is? Voting. Voting. That's all. Going down to that ballot box and getting good people like our mayor here elected, right? You know, and taking over our school boards to make sure that into our classrooms we can teach what the contributions are of people of color. How Native Americans were the first slaves, and we sit on their land and we have never paid them back. You know, we have never paid them back for the land that we took from them. And how African slaves built the White House and the Congress. How many people, is that in our school books? It's not in our school books, right? That is not in our school books. And how the people from Mexico, Mexicans are good people, by the way. All right. How with the Mexicans and the Chinese and the Japanese and the Filipinos and the people from India, all of these immigrants that came here and how they built this land. And we have to remind everybody that unless you're Native American, your people came from somewhere. So don't be attacking anybody because they're an immigrant, right? We teach this because if not, our children of color will always feel like they're second-class citizens, and our Anglo children, they will be fed that poison of white supremacy, you know, of white supremacy that is so wrong and really poisons their mind. And you know, when we talk about I know that all of us are feeling the pain of the students that were killed in Florida, and so what is this about guns? You know, it's not about guns. It's about profits. It's about people making money selling guns. That's what it is. And like in our high school down there in Kern County, our board voted to bring guns in. We actually took petitions. We got thousands of signatures to stop that. They still voted because, by the way, Bakersfield, California, where our foundation is located, it's kind of something like the South. It's something like Mississippi or Alabama, you know? So our school board, they voted to bring guns into the schools. Even though we had all these thousands of signatures and everybody, you know, testified against it, they still did it. But guess what? We have a really good blue legislature in California. We have a great blue governor named Jerry Brown, and our state legislature passed a law, no guns in the schools in California, all right? So it all comes down again to the vote, the people that we elect. And today, and for the teachers in the room, I just want to say to you, when I asked the students today if they knew who their representatives were on the school board and the legislature and the Congress, very few hands went up. So teachers, please, I beg you, that's got to be part of the education, okay? Part of the education is who are the representatives and how did they get there, what kind of policies, what they stand for, what authority they have. Our kids need to know that because they have to get up there, and all of you students up there, be thinking about how you're going to run and you're going to take those positions and you're going to take the power, all right? So how do we change this? We change it by voting, but I think we also have to talk about changing our values. Let's go back to indigenous values. You know, when Native Americans, as they traveled and they had their teepees and they traveled around, they always left the earth in a pristine manner. You know, when they left it, they left it the way it was before they got there. We have to think about our environment because this is only one planet that we all live on, and we want that planet to be here for the 7 generations after we leave here. So that's very important. And let's think about indigenous values. What were they? Indigenous values were one of sharing, of cooperation, of taking care of each other, right? And it's not a domination, having one group of people think that they're better than other people, you know? So we have to change our value system and go back to the values where we can all take care of each other and make sure that the resources of our planet are shared by everybody. They don't belong to a few people, the very, very wealthy, the very, very rich. You know, our resources do not belong to them. And that's one thing that we hardly ever think about, is why don't we have enough money to pay for all these things that we want? Because, as we said before, a few people have all of the wealth. And the resources of our country should belong to all of us. You know that little country, Norway, they got all the medals there in the Olympics? They got more medals than anybody, you know? a little small country. And I remember reading once, and it said that Norway had like a $400 billion surplus. I thought, how, this little teeny country, where did they get all that money? Guess what? They own their oil. We do not own our oil. The corporations own our oil. We do not own our utility systems. We do not own our transportation systems like other countries do. Corporations own them. So this is something that we have to put on our agenda. How do we take our resources back to make sure that in the United States of America, we will not have one homeless person, that everybody has a safe place to live, that all of our people who are ill can be taken care of, especially our people who have mental issues, that they are taken care of. We can make that happen because we are a democracy. We are a democracy, and we are the majority, and we are the people that can make it happen by electing good representatives to our different public offices, and we have the power to do that, and that's the main thing that we have to remember. So, in the name of César Chávez, I want to thank all of you again for this wonderful institution, and keep it going because you are a beacon of light. And I know you've had some issues, but that's okay. Sometimes things have to get so bad, so ugly. It's like, I say, like when you have a sore on your arm, it gets infected, and it has to get really orange. And then you say, and it has to start hurting, and you start feeling the pain, and they say, okay, now we have to take care of it, okay? And that's what's happening right now in our country. We have all of these issues, but we have to understand that all of us, individually, that we have the power to change it. I want to also direct you to my foundation, the Dolores Huerta Foundation. We're on the web, it's doloreshuerta.org, so you can find us. And on your cell phones, if you want to join our social movement, just put join DHF for Dolores Huerta Foundation. Dolores Huerta Foundation, DHF.org, okay, to keep in touch with us. Our organizing model, which is the same one that César and I use to organize the farm workers, we're going to try to make it online so that we can kind of teach everybody how to do what we're doing, because we can definitely solve the problems that we have in our communities. Once we get the courage, once we understand that we have the power. And when people would say to César and I, how did you do all of this with farm workers? I hope you get to see the movie, by the way, but if you don't, it's going to be on Independent Lens, PBS, at the end of March, okay? And you'll see how the farm workers got that power. And when people see that, they say, oh, the farm workers just got up and went on strike. For 3 years before that strike, César and myself, we met with the workers in their homes, a few people at a time, organizing them so that they would understand that they had the power. And not only that, but we have to understand if we do not stand up and make the changes, nobody is going to do it for us. We are the only ones that can make it happen. So let's make it happen, and I want to say a viva for César, by the way. And I do want to thank you all too, because I just want to say, and I see my friend here, this is the only university that ever composed a symphony in my honor. So I want to thank you very much for doing that, okay? I want to thank you very much for doing that. So I'm going to say que viva César Chávez, and I want everybody to shout a big old viva, all right? And we'll do a couple of other ones, all right? Oh, by the way, for the DACA students, I think right now we're in good shape because California, you may know our Attorney General there filed a lawsuit against number 45 administration, El Trompulo. Anyway, and filed a lawsuit to be able to keep the DACA students here, and I think a couple of other governors did the same thing. So I think for right now we're in good shape. But please, if you haven't already done so, please email or call your senator and your congressperson to tell them, please keep the DACA students here in the United States of America. And as Michael Moore said, 3 things you have to do when you wake up in the morning. Okay, wash your face, brush your teeth, call your congressman. Okay, so let's go with, I'll go first and you go after me with a viva, okay? So the first one is for César Chávez. Que viva César Chávez! Que viva! Que viva the DACA students! Que viva! Que viva the immigrants! Que viva! Que viva la mujer! Que viva! Long live labor unions! Que viva! Okay, now one more thing. Just to remind all of us, I'm going to ask you, who's got the power? And I want you to say, we've got the power. Okay? And when I say what kind of power, I want you to say people power. All right? And I want you to shout it really loud so that the alt-right, the neo-Nazis, and all those haters out there, okay? So they can hear us. And I do also want to not forget that we also have to stand for the human rights of our LGBT community also, okay? Let's not forget that. And I like to quote Benito Juárez, the president of Mexico, the only indigenous president that Mexico ever had, who had this great saying, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz. Respecting other people's rights is peace. How many children a woman wants to have, that is her human right to decide, okay? Who you want to live with, whom you want to marry, okay? That is your human right, okay? And nobody should interfere with that, all right? Not the church, not the state, not anybody. Okay, so let's go. Who's got the power? Okay. Okay, let's wait for me. And let's do it really, really, really loud. Okay, so we only have to do it one time. Okay, let's go. Who's got the power? We have the power. One more time. Some people aren't sure they have the power. Okay, everybody, one more time. Really, really loud. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? People power. Okay, are we going to go out there? Are we going to organize ourselves, our family, our neighbors, get everybody to vote? What do we say? ¿Se puede o no se puede? Sí se puede. Okay, let's do it with an organized hand clap. Okay, let's go, everybody. Sí se puede. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, so I've been told that I am to be the closer. So I'm going to close by first of all saying thank you. Okay. You go by Dolores. Can I just say thank you, Miss Dolores? Because in my family, in our tradition, you never call an elder, and certainly in this case an icon, without saying first, and it was always Miss. So it's Miss Dolores. Thank you so much for being here today. And I think it's also important that we recognize what brought us here today, and that's a commemorative event for César Chávez. And so I think our thank you also extends to his legacy and for the work that he did with Dolores to enshrine what we mean by social justice. When we talk about equity, when we talk about equality, when we talk about unity, they represented together those words. And so we thank César Chávez for his work and his efforts on behalf of this country and on behalf of the world. I've got one or two observations that I want to make. Okay. When I came here today, I was expecting greatness, and that was achieved. The second, something that Miss Dolores, what you shared with us, who you are, but most profoundly, what I recognize is that you are a teacher. And you were very deliberate in the ways in which you instructed all of us, especially our youth, on what it means to be an organizer, an activist with a goal. And I wrote these words down, okay, because you talked about teaching people they have power. And the way that you achieve power is not by happenstance. It's by having a strategy. It is by being organized in order to achieve a goal. And what you said is it takes a lot of work, a lifetime of work. I can't believe when I heard what was your age. And out of respect, I know it's somewhere in the 80s. And I said, my gosh, if only the rest of us could have that passion, that vigor, and that ability to teach. But I know it's from a lifetime of teaching. So again, I want to extend our appreciation to you. And I also have to extend our appreciation to all of those who are a part of this effort today. And that includes Michigan State University, the Lansing School District, and of course our partners with the City of Lansing and the City of East Lansing. This is the 8th annual commemorative celebration. I appreciate so much that you acknowledge MSU's efforts to create that symphony for you, because certainly that's the least that we can do for what you've done for this country and for the world. When we talk about building inclusive communities, that's what this represents, okay? So for the youth in this room, when we talk about building inclusive communities, others of us have done the work, we continue to do the work, but the burden, if you will, now rests on your shoulders. Dolores today explained to you, or Miss Dolores, today explained to you what that means, all right? And I hope you heard what that means and the effort that it takes, the diligence that it takes, the preparation, the word preparation, and the importance of that in your life, all right? So, there's a quote that's on the back of the program. We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspiration and needs of others for their sakes and for our own. That's from César Chávez. One last thank you. He couldn't be here today because he lost his father last week. And I would ask that you keep in your thoughts and in your prayers Ignacio Andrade and his family. We started this discussion with our office 9 years ago. And it's through his hard work and those of the team that have brought this together over the last years. We're counting on 9, 10, and into the future. So all of you, I understand we've got a march ahead of us, so gather out in the auditorium, in front of the auditorium, I'm told. So thank you very much for being here today. Good luck, and we'll see everyone next year.
Well, having Dolores Huerta here is exciting for Lansing. And, it was exciting to hear her. It was a great message. I hope everybody gets a chance to hear it and to see it. Everything that she's done in the past, she knows what she's talking about. Between Ms. Huerta and César Chávez, these are labor leaders, these are human rights leaders, and it's always great to have them here in Lansing.
This is such an important event, and I hope I don't start crying because, Dolores Huerta is an icon. She's a legend. In 1969, when I first arrived in Lansing, I went on the lettuce boycotts. I was at the Croker parking lot. I boycotted for César Chávez and for Dolores Huerta. And here we are. How many years later? Is it 50 almost? And I get a chance to see Dolores Huerta. It's just, and today's my 66th birthday. So this is the best birthday present I've ever had, bar none.
Hi, this is Kathy Dunbar from the Lansing City Council. I am so proud to have been here to see Dolores Huerta speak at this Chavez celebration. She was inspiring. She was fantastic for the kids. She's a teacher. That was one of the things that we heard today. And she motivated these kids to get out and be the change that they want to see in the world. And she told them they have to run for office. They have to carry the mantle. And they're excited. And that was amazing.
Hi, we're the Tapias, and we are here celebrating César Chávez and also listening to the incredible Dolores Huerta speak.
Hi, I'm Mari. I was on a panel here today talking about activism.
Hi, I'm Steve Tapia, proud dad of Marisela and everything she's doing. And I'm very proud of her, and it was great to see Dolores Huerta. My parents were migrant workers, and so it's really important to see them and see those icons in person. It's great.
I'm Benicio Tapia. I'm a student at Waverly High School, and I'm so proud to be here to celebrate César Chávez. and see Dolores Huerta.
When I reach the gates of heaven, I am terrified that my ancestors will stare at the palms of my hands, wondering why they are not as scarred as their own. Questioning where I've been all these years, gazing into my eyes, asking, did you not continue our fight? It's time we admit where we've gone wrong. We learned to do a little bit better, and we forgot that better than yesterday is still not good enough for tomorrow. We forgot that the fight is continuous, that our oppression lies in systems not designed for our success. We forgot that someone fought so fearlessly for us to inhabit these spaces that we haven't fully learned to navigate in the first place. We forgot what they went through. We forgot what they died for. And just like Christ, we forgot all about the sacrifice before I so graciously reached the kingdom. I hope I remember the crown of thorns that each of my ancestors wore as their everyday outfits. I hope I remember the tear-stained faces as they were getting brutally beaten over pure hatred by racists. I hope I remember every march, my blood embodied in their movements. You see, I hope I remember every speech as I've learned to speak an alphabet in a language once foreign to my people. I hope I remember to always fight the fight, even when it's not so peaceful. The next time my identity is questioned, the next time my character and ethnicity become degraded, tell them I held my hands up against the fire without fear, the same way my people stood at the front line, knowing that we are leaving a better world for our children, even if it is at the expense of our own lives. Under the new administration, I've seen some of us get discouraged. We are constantly fighting for a quality of life, and to be fair, it seems like a never-ending fight, an uphill battle we're preparing to lose, but I challenge each and every one of you here today. I challenge you to take the next 3 points and apply them to you. 1, can y'all give me a 1? 1, you have never done your part. There is no segment to our liberation. You are constantly and consistently responsible for the freedom of the people in our nation, the nation of peace, the nation of progression, the nation of people who don't believe in systemic or institutionalized oppression. Your part is to fight every day in your own way and at your own pace. Number two, the fight you fight isn't always loud and vibrant. Some days the most important fight you fight is silent. It's not always marches and speeches and long hauls across the streets. Sometimes it's not barricaded and supported by people that look like you or me. The silent fight is coming home after a racial slur, a long day of work, an ignored opinion at a business meeting, or just opening your pay stub to realize you don't get paid enough compared to your white counterparts. The silent fight is realizing you cannot change people's hearts. You can only show them your own and hope that they rearrange their thoughts. Number 3, we are only as powerful as the knowledge we hold. Oral, traditional, passed down regardless of how it's told. Books tell us many things, and that's because the people who wrote them actually lived. They lived the tragic lives that documentaries are still too scared to televise. So ask your grandmother questions. Know that there is an unhealed trauma sitting at her bedside that you would confuse for a nightstand. Know that rejection to information will come, but it is your responsibility to uncover what's been done. Dig a little deeper. The wound may bleed again, but at least this time you'll know firsthand what those memories truly represent. Thank y'all so much.
So, I want to thank y'all for marching with us. Doña Dolores says that she's marching for the students here, for all of you.
To make the changes we need.
So that you can take the power and make the changes that need to be made.